Hey folks, today's video is a bit of an odd one. I'll clarify that early on. Whilst playing and just exploring Hyrule in Tears of the Kingdom, I've been taking notes of location names, interesting things I find, and all of that fun stuff in order to make videos. However, recently I noted down a name in a long list of various things to investigate for potential videos. When I eventually read over these names in full, I was instantly drawn to one in particular because of its name: Champion's Gate. Now, I had sort of forgotten at this point what that name was. I'd been to loads of places and noted lots of names down. I knew it was a location, but as to where and what it looked like, I wasn't sure anymore. But with a name as prestigious and rich as Champion's Gate, I was expecting this to be some ancient part of history that I could maybe talk about. However, I was met with this. This is Champion's Gate. But what exactly is Champion's Gate, and how did it get this luxurious name when this is all it appears to be? Alright folks, be sure to go and grab yourself a snack or drink and send them in to get featured right here. And let's talk about this random location, as it might not be all that random. Champion's Gate can be found in the east of the Gerudo Desert, just next to and sort of linking to the South Lomai Labyrinth. It basically acts as a pathway to the large maze, and I'm saying that very loosely. It's more of a natural path, if anything. If anything, it isn't really that easily accessible, especially back in Breath of the Wild, as in that game the path is filled with Lizalfos. However, come Tears of the Kingdom and it's less dangerous. Kinda. Other than it being an upwards climb in orange Gerudo rock, there aren't many details to point out. In Breath of the Wild, we saw a Korok puzzle on the side, as well as some old mining platforms. Oh, and you can't forget the tumbleweed. That's my sales pitch to why this place is interesting. Still interested? Stick around. Jokes aside, there are a few actually interesting reasons to talk about Champion's Gate. With the very little to gone over, let's get into the juicy speculation and lore side of this. So the big question that I want to know the answer to is, why is it called Champion's Gate? Here are some possible reasons that I think could be why. A few years prior to the events of Tears of the Kingdom were the events of Breath of the Wild. Same kingdom, different shenanigans. In that game, we witnessed the technological giants that were the Sheikah Divine Beasts, 4 titans in the 4 corners of the land. They played a big role during the Calamity, unfortunately being possessed by Ganon's malice and turned on the kingdom. However, we also learn a little bit about their origins. I won't deep dive much, but to put it briefly, this technology prior to the Great Calamity, these machines were dug up, as they were previously buried. We don't know exactly where each of them were excavated, though we do see very subtle hints. When talking about Divine Beast Van Boris, the Titan of the Desert, we saw in a flashback that it was excavated from the orange Gerudo rock. Could it be that the beast was dug up here? It's honestly unlikely, as the memory appears to show a much higher up platform when they found it. I wanted to bring this idea up as the word champions could be linked to the champion who piloted the Divine Beast, Lady Urbosa. I also wanted to bring this up to rule it out, so we have all grounds covered. Interesting side note about the excavation of Naboris: if you explore the platforms throughout the Gerudo Canyon, you can find this spot by the Geno Shrine in Breath of the Wild, or here in Tears of the Kingdom, where the platforms have broken off and the cliffside appears different. It was proposed by Nintendo Black Crisis and Bandit Games that this could be where the Titan was dug up. Pretty interesting, right? As for our mystery, let's look at other possibilities. In terms of stuff in the desert, there are some nearby ruins. The East Barrens are what you can see looking out from Champion's Gate. Though don't get too close, as there is a Molduga down there. There isn't much said or known about them. In Breath of the Wild, there was a Sheikah shrine here, and in Tears of the Kingdom, they have sinkholes. Down below we can find some mysterious ruins. The ancient altar ruins contain these familiar pointing statues, which in Breath of the Wild were part of a pretty cool navigation quest. However, we don't really know what else they signify. Anyway, with these ruins being nearby, I thought they'd be worth mentioning, as there was obviously once something out this way. Perhaps in some unknown related way, way back in time, this is where the name came from. It's a weak option due to lack of information, but good to have on the table anyway. Arguably the most obvious thing to consider here is the nearby labyrinth. Whilst this is clearly a natural rock form, the fact that it leads to this great landmark of Hyrule could have some sort of tie-in to the name. The key word is obviously champions, but what does that mean in relation to the Zonai who were said to have built these massive mazes? Well, there is the ancient hero seen on the tapestry, and Tears of the Kingdom reward for completing all shrines spoiler incoming. We see the ancient hero's aspect in the latest installment, an armor piece which essentially turns Link into the ancient hero, at least aesthetically. I can't honestly say that I feel confident in there being a connection, but there always could be, considering the ancient hero could have been considered a champion as well. Again, this is more just covering all grounds. One last idea takes us back to the big beast, Vanaboris. Whilst I'm pretty certain this isn't the excavation point of the Divine Beast, it could, however, be the path it took. In Breath of the Wild, following the completion of each Divine Beast, or dungeon, if you consider them dungeons, the spirit of the champion who once piloted them will take their Divine Beast to a high point in order to take aim at Hyrule Castle, which then was under the control of Calamity Ganon. Now, it's not this that could be our answer, as the location was already named prior to this, but what I'm thinking is, could this have been the route Urbosa took the Divine Beast 100 years ago to defend against the Calamity? The Titans weren't locked to their regions, and in the midst of a grand battle, the Calamity, they could travel. Say Urbosa wanted to reach Central Hyrule to aid the fight, she'd have to find a suitable route. Whilst Gerudo Canyon is fine itself, the extremely narrow and ropey point between Gerudo Canyon Pass and Dig Dog's suspension bridge doesn't look too doable, even for a titan like this. The Gerudo Highlands are just as difficult, if not more problematic. Going round the edges of the Great Plateau is a very tight option and not ideal either. However, Champion's Gate and over the mountain here does lead to a smooth route, along with a bridge that the Divine Beast could actually walk on without breaking it, the Great Bridge of Hylia. So what I'm saying is, could Champion's Gate be called this because it was the path Urbosa would have taken Divine Beast Vanaboris into battle with during the Great Calamity? I think it's a decent possibility. There are ifs, buts and maybes included, such as the fact we didn't actually see the Divine Beasts push further into Central Hyrule, but we know they are capable of it, and it makes sense when basically nothing happened to the desert and most of the battle took place in Central Hyrule. Urbosa, the champion of the Gerudo, might be the reason for this name. She might be the champion who took it through this gate. It's my best guess anyway. To wrap up, allow me to clarify this. I know that this is definitely overthinking something small, but often in games like The Legend of Zelda, small details do often contain notable information. This is all highly speculative and just a bit of fun at the end of the day. There might even be some sort of unseen, ancient reason it's called Champion's Gate, but there is no way to know for certain. Or hey, maybe it's just a natural piece of rock and somebody thought, yeah, Champion's Gate sounds cool, and went on their way. Does that make this video pointless? Be sure to like and subscribe. I hope you all enjoyed my fixation on this rather barren location. I really enjoy making these location-based videos and environmental stories, and if there's anywhere else you'd like to see me cover, then let me know in the comments. Shameless plug incoming. If you didn't know, I have a Discord server, a place where you can join and chat to myself and many other Zelda fans. We've got various chats that cover various topics, and it's completely open to join. Just be sure to verify that you've read the rules upon joining, and you'll gain access to my server. Ages 13 and up. As always, a big thanks goes to my channel supporters for your incredibly kind and generous support, with a very special thank you to new supporter, Lily. Thank you very much. I offer behind the scenes content as well as a shout out upon joining and your name at the end of my videos. If you're interested, the links are below. You can also find my socials down there if you'd like to keep up to date with me. I appreciate you all for watching, and I hope you all have an amazing day or night. And until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.